Second half of the James Case interview, where we talk about a variety of topics, including the remaster, how the remaster was edited, and what he thinks the future of Paizo and Pathfinder 2 will be. So I don't know when the Samsarans are coming out. I imagine it's in the Tian Xia book.
They're in the Tian Xia character guide, which is in August of next year.
Awesome. So did you get a lot of Hindu and Vedic inspiration for the Samsarans? I know it's just remaster, but also I've only seen them in PF1, and they did have some of that flavor. So I was wondering if you're carrying that forth and expanding that.
Yeah. So the Samsarans. So I was also the design lead for both of the Tian Xia books, along with Eleanor Farron, who was the development lead for that product. That was a very collaborative product. It's huge, something very close to my heart. And one of the 6 ancestries that we've announced for that is the Samsarans. In case the name wasn't clear, they have a whole thing about reincarnation and reliving their life. Samsara is kind of cycle of transmigration and all that kind of things. I would say that their abilities and general reimagining is kind of similar to where it was in P1, but of course we have a little more room to dive deeply in. Want to get a little more specific with the mythology. I would say that rather than pulling from any one particular tradition, because this is a concept that occurs, it occurs in Hinduism, occurs in Buddhism, and that kind of thing. It kind of approaches the concept of reincarnation a little more holistically. There's some more specifically Buddhist and Hindu aspects of the Tian Xia setting, but I would say that Samsarans, I think some of the art is a little similar to like Nepal, I want to say, from what we've done. Eleanor Farron has done many of the art orders for that book, and she is very good at pulling some kind of, along with the art team, like specific costumes or architectures and kind of.
It does seem to be, and loves them.
Yeah. But their abilities are more kind of holistically around the concept of reincarnation in general, rather than being kind of specifically grounded in any one religion.
Okay, well, that kind of makes sense as well, because then you can expand that into a religion if you want to, but it still just fits a general concept. I guess that makes sense that Paizo goes that way. It doesn't really occur to me at first because, like, I have my own experiences with this religion, and I think, oh, that's that religion, but it's really not. You can just apply it to that.
And we have some analogs in the setting that are similar, that are a more kind of reincarnation based thing. Like Sangpachi is one of them that was in Gods and Magic, and I think possibly the season of Ghost book that just is coming out this month might go into that in a little more depth. I'm not quite sure. So there's definitely ways in which we definitely talk about religion in the Tian Xia books and philosophies and just kind of how they come in.
Yeah, I noticed that in the season of Ghost. I skimmed through it. I was already given the PDF for it, and it looks insane. Like from the beginning, it looks like, okay, so forget how reality works. So this is how it works now. Yeah. I like that a lot.
It's good fun. There's some pretty good authors on that, so I'm excited for everyone to start to get to read through it and enjoy their spooky times.
Yeah, totally. I was wishing I had an adventuring group prepared to start running it during a Halloween season. I just didn't think about it. So I'm sorry, this seems like, an interrogation. This is like, you must get tired of being asked questions over and over again. You have a lot of names memorized, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, I've been working on all these projects for a while, and we have a lot of very cool authors and designers and world builders who contribute to make the setting. So, yeah.
I'm glad that you're giving honor to them as well. It's cool. So I couldn't really find a lot about you personally, and I guess at some point it seemed a little creepy to be digging. I thought I would ask, what if you had like infinite free time and whatever people around to bounce ideas off of, what kind of project would you personally work on? Would it be like writing your own novel, or like fiction, fantasy, your own game system, or just expanding what's here?
Well, I'm not sure. I think it changes a lot. Like I think maybe at some point, but right now I've kind of been lucky in that a lot of the projects that especially are landing right now are ones that are very kind of up my alley anyways at Paizo. We have the Tian Xia projects. I have Howl of the Wild, which is the other one coming up that I'm very excited about, just because like I was like a biology major. I worked
Ah,
in I worked in environmental, scientific, medical editing before I came into games. So I'm like, I definitely grew up with all of that nature and animal stuff. So that's good fun. There's some other small things I'm kind of off on the side, but right now I'm kind of fortunate in that a lot of the stuff on the docket seems to be stuff that's very up my alley. So
that's rare to get the
yeah,
answer to that as I'm doing it right now.
yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I think it's no surprise, especially for something like Tian Xia, Eleanor and I had been trying to find where we could get that on the schedule for a long time. So that really is a project we're really excited to see. I think it's the first one is at the printer right now. The second one is in editing. So
Is that because of like your family history, or are you like reading that kind of myth? Or I'm curious.
yeah, I mean, all of the above, really. I was born and raised in Hawaii. My grandmother's Korean, so like I just very much grew up with a different set of folk tales and stuff. We would get Momotaro or something in grade school just as easily as we'd get anything else. You know, I lived in Japan for most of my 20s. So, I have a lot of friends over there and I definitely all that. And then, I'm also just a big old fashioned nerd. So I'm very much grew up, I very much grew up like watching anime and that kind of thing. And so it's just, we get both the, we get both the like old, and I would say that these books have both the kind of an older and more folkloric take on fantasy and also like all of the fantasy that has been written in the last 100 years are also trying to blend these two together into something that's just fun to play with. So that's good. Yeah.
That's cool. It sounds like you have a very active imagination. That's really nice to see.
Thank you.
I maybe it's just me, but I wouldn't want just like an accountant pencil pusher trying to make fun fantasy games for me.
You know, it, yes, but also I would say that like it's really cool to see how people's expertise can find its way into fantasy. I think like a perfect example of this is one of my former coworkers, Ron Lundeen, who was like a corporate lawyer before he came in to uh, do fantasy, and he has come up with some of the really cool stuff. He was the project lead on Abomination Vaults when it came out, but also if you've ever seen the Devil contracts in Lost Omens
Yes.
Legends,
Yes.
yeah. So the reason why the Devil contract is long and full of incredibly malevolent use of legalese is because it was written by somebody
An evil
who is
lawyer.
no, he's very lovely, but he also very much wrote it in that style. Um, it's really cool to see where people's backgrounds just kind of come in and inform things in all sorts of ways you wouldn't, I guess, expect.
I suppose I could see that because, like, in order for us to get into the space of a fantasy game and act like we're our characters going through a fantasy world, we have to have a touchstone. We have to have some way to relate. So,
Right.
yeah, there have to be correlates or analogies that we can understand, like a lawyer demon. I'm not talking about your friend. I'm talking about specifically, what is it, the Philosophus demon? I forget what it is.
The contract demon, yeah.
Yeah.
Or contract devil, I believe. But yeah.
Yeah, I actually included her in a game that I was playing D&D at the time, but I thought she was awesome, so I had to include her, and it was perfect. There's so many good ideas that come out of Paizo, just amazing random thunderbolts of inspiration.
I think that's also like the idea of, like deal with a devil motif is, obviously it's a touchstone that, I mean, we hardly invented that, but it's also really cool to see like, well, what would this look like in this world with this system, and we have a queen of a nation who just has many personal infernal contracts that, you can use in all these ways to, throw D6s of hellfire at your opponents or what have you. Yeah.
I'm as a GM, I'm more interested in the non-combat portions of a game like story, but also just sort of acting, getting people to interact with imaginary things. It's just a lot of fun to see people's imaginations go wild and the tactics they use that I never would have thought of.
Yeah. It's because people want to pick up the characters and then tell stories with them, and it's always one of the things I like is seeing character ideas pop up for classes or archetypes or what have you, and being like, that never occurred to me, but it's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, there have been some archetypes that I've done videos about or wanted to. I'm like, Why wouldn't you include that? You could totally include that. That's a Ghostbuster. Now you're playing Ghostbusters.
I think I played a holiday game with some friends last year, and we were all various Christmas inspired characters. I was playing a ghost slash chrono skimmer that was the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come from Muppet, from specifically
Perfect.
the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Okay, what makes the Muppet version different?
I don't. It's just a vibe. It's the vibe.
I would not have thought of Ghost, Chrono Skimmer, Christmas Spirit of the Future. That is
Because they have
perfect.
the ability where they pull their alternate timeline versions to flank with. So then I could have the Ghost of Christmas Past and the Ghost of Christmas Present come up to flank. Yeah,
Holy crap, that is cool. That is clever.
it was a fun game.
No kidding. Oh, I wanted to ask that. Do you run games yourself for your own groups?
I do not run very often. I've been playing in a couple games. Unfortunately, I really prefer to play in person, and the pandemic and all that kind of stuff has made it a little hard. I've had a couple games playing here and there, but lately not as much, which is unfortunate. But I would very much like to start doing that a little bit more now that now that the remaster books are starting to come out and things.
Less stress.
I mean, we had a lot of projects this year, so yeah.
Yeah, especially with like urgency from other things happening in the world, you had to jump on this. I kind of felt bad. Like I'm reading through the remaster book and I'm like, is that a typo? I think that might be a typo. And then I'm like, I got to like 4 of them, and then I brought it up to Storm, my editor girlfriend, and she's like, well, remember when we were publishing PDFs and selling our own third-party stuff? We would go through it 4 times and still miss something.
Yeah,
like it's going to happen.
And we have a fantastic editing team. Like I came in on that team. Everyone there is incredibly talented in many different ways. But at the same time, like I don't think anybody has ever published a multiple 100-page book and, caught everything. And at the end of the day, the editors do, of course, like their job is, to fix typos and grammar, sure, but it's about making sure the clarity of information gets to everybody. It's about making sure that things are standard in a way that makes them easy to understand. It's making sure it aligns with kind of our brand and our values. So like they do a lot of very cool stuff with that book. But yeah, at the same time, typos do occur. But
well, I was trying to point out, especially because you guys have been in a rush, it makes sense. It's going to happen. There was a lot to pack into those books.
Yeah. But I'm very proud of them, and I think that I think they're cool at least. And it's been nice to see them kind of the first wave come out, and then I know we have a lot with Monster Core coming up soon.
Yeah,
there are some very cool updates and revisions to some kind of classic creatures there. I know Luis has talked a lot about the new dragons that we've gotten to see some. We've done a couple of revisions to some classic monsters, again, to kind of align them with the folklore a little bit more.
That is really cool.
There's a lot in there I'm really excited to show off.
I like that some of the things in the Player Core book refer to later things that are going to come out. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the dragons now.
Yeah. We are... it's the kind of throwing the basketball at where the basket will be in a couple months. Because, it'll be out soon. It'll be fine.
That's foreshadowing. That's really exciting. Do that in story too. It works in real life as well. So I asked you this not really directly, but you kind of said that you'd be doing what you're working on right now. But so we did the whole like, if you were stuck on a deserted island and with nothing but your laptop to work on, and it's kind of what you're doing right now. If you were doing something that was just like very personal to you and like your own magnum opus, your own personal, this is me on a page, what kind of topic would that be?
I usually try to put at least one layer between me and the page, most of the time. Maybe like a very kind of end of summer type of vibe. That's the vibe I really like in general. I've often talked about how I will go to bat as islands fulfill all the narrative function of dungeons, but with better terrain versatility.
It's true. The point of dungeons is just you're elsewhere. Islands work really well for that.
So I've been throwing around something that's a very like, maybe like an end of summer, something island fantasy, but I haven't quite congealed all the ideas yet, but I'm thinking about it.
Cool. A lot of going on in the background.
Yeah. It's a lot of like, while I'm doing dishes or something, I'm like kind of thinking about it. So
Our subconsciouses are powerful. I work
oh, yeah.
on scripts by ignoring them, and like the story comes out in my head, and I'm
And you
like,
come back
oh
to it and it's like,
yeah,
thank you, subconscious, for doing all of that for me.
right. I thought I was just making a cake. So, what is your favorite kind of thing to design in the Pathfinder space, like Ancestry, class, other, and or what did you make in Pathfinder that you're the most proud of or like self-invested?
I think I like archetype design a lot because I think it can be a very specific thing. Like, I don't, just kind of the way we set up our classes, we wouldn't probably do something as specific as like I don't know. What's something we've done in the past? Like Chrono Skimmer is a good example. I'm not sure if we would do that really as a full class. We might do something that's more around time in general or more around something like that. But that's the kind of thing that really an archetype, you can make it and then you can kind of come into it from any class. And that's really fun because you can get really specific with the kind of abilities and inspiration in a way where a class by itself needs to be kind of broad enough for a wide swath of people to kind of do what they want with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ancestries, for kind of a similar reason, I feel like a lot of the Ancestries I've worked on have been very folkloric. So that's a really nice place to, again, take like kind of what are the base myths and then how would I realize them in the game, that kind of thing. That's always good fun. I would say, and a thing I'm proud of, the Dark Archive book that we put out last year was like that was my first lead project. But also, I think it's has a lot of really cool stuff in it, but also from the start, I was like, if this is a paranormal book, I want to bury secrets in it. And so it has a number of like mini adventures, but we also had kind of an online component along with it. And one of the things, especially as we were doing it kind of in the middle of the pandemic, I really wanted the book to be something that like was a physical book, but also like, so many people use the internet now. So we had a kind of digital, very light kind of ARG where people were like looking for secrets, and people were starting to like go on to like Discord or Reddit, and they were starting to like share clues with each other to try and piece it together. And I was like, oh, look at you in the book about the paranormal investigators who have to collaborating to figure out the secrets.
Well, the internet feels like a library of infinite knowledge, so that's where we would go to do our dark research.
Yeah, and so that was I know we had a marketing coordination channel at work, and we were just watching people speculate wildly. And because we were playing with things very close to the chest, we were just sitting there. We were just throwing memes at each other because we couldn't see them in any other channel. So that was good fun. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. That's like when you're running a game and some player's like, I bet this is around the corner, and you're like, no, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
So we only have a few minutes left. Is there anything that you would want to tell people to be aware of, like from your side of things? Like what is like the best response you'd hope you would get from something you'd work on?
It's just cool to see.
I'm sorry, I have questions.
Yeah, it's cool to see people, enjoying the content and putting their own spin on it. Like I like seeing people say like, hey, this is my character, this is my new druid or something. That's always fun. Just to see, or just like seeing funny moments that occur. People will like post snippets of like some wild thing that happened in their game, and I'm like, did not think that that's what they would use that feed for. It's cool though, cool moment. That's good. I mean, other than the remasters just dropping, the Howl of the Wild comes out early next year, as does the first Tian Xia book. Those are the two big things I have on the horizon right now. And there's also, the War of Immortals classes, and that whole book will be coming out next year. So that's also a thing. And then some secret stuff that, will be revealed in due course, I suppose.
The bits and pieces, breadcrumbs to lead us on the trail.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like you're a gamer nerd like the rest of us, but also that you're an author presenting your gamer nerd stuff to everybody. That's really cool having those two perspectives.
Yeah, thank you. I think everyone, like I said, it's a very collaborative, creative process. So it's always very cool to have that opportunity.
Well, still, if you put your name on something online, people are going to talk to you about it. So I'm glad that you said something about the witch so we could talk about this today. I appreciate your coming, and it's been nice chatting with you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This has been James Case, the man who has the inside view of Paizo, and his creative brain is going to take us into a lot of interesting places because it already has. I love that there's somebody here who is passionate about mythology. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. It's been great talking to you.